Hello and welcome to Facebook Live here on Thursday, and it's full of energy in this room. You gotta love it. The weather is either really quite nice with a couple of blue skies or is absolutely tipping down. I went for a walk just about 10 minutes ago. I always like to get out of the office and out into nature, and it's lovely. I've got to say, there's something about the quiet on the build up to Christmas, isn't there really? I mean, we're well in, it's only a matter of a couple of weeks to go, and already slowly we're starting to slip into that lovely Christmas feeling. I've not even thought about the presents yet or anything like that, but there is that thing that there is some holidays taking place. Many of the kids some of them will be finishing school at the end of this week and some into next week as well. So it's coming. We can start to feel a bit more Christmassy. The tree's up here already. George's penguin is here too. Thanks for the loan of that, George. We make sure you get it back after the show. No, we won't. And I've got my pad here as well. So please say hello, tell me where you're from, send in messages, any questions you've got on any aspect of engaging with nature, plants and gardening, and I will answer those. I've already had some that have come through either through Instagram or Facebook. I'll take your questions there. So please say hello and tell me where you're from. Last week we had some friends that were joining us from America and Argentina. So if you are joining us from another country, tell us where you're from as well. And any questions that you may have, just keep sending them through. They'll come through to my iPad here and I'll read them out and I'll give as many mentions as I can in the half an hour that we can talk together. Of course, it is National Illumination Street Week this week. That is the national week that coincides with the campaign Illumination Street, which effectively is encouraging people to decorate their front gardens for Christmas. Loads of lights, you know, growing evergreens and decorating those with lights and tinsel, something to brighten up your days, and goodness only knows after this year we really need it. So if you have done a great display in your front garden, or particularly your children, if any children have done really nice displays on windowsills with the trees inside the house or outside, go to the Illumination Street website. There is about £5,000 worth of British Garden Centre Group gift vouchers to give away. So go to the website, send in the pictures that you've got. They'll be sharing them on Twitter and everything. And let's just share the magic of Christmas and use our front gardens to put a smile on our faces. And anything that you have got any questions on that, or on house plants or on outside plants and trees and shrubs, or anything that you want to take a look at in gardening and nature, send them through to us now. Now, I've had a few earlier questions. I'll take a couple of those as we go. We had a picture sent in from Drew Patterson from Facebook. Hello, Drew. Hello to you, mate. Hey, the house plants are looking pretty good. He sent me in some pictures here. What have we got there? Sansevieria there. It's a family of the mother-in-law's trunk. We used to call it witch's fingers. You've got a couple of sedums there, a little crassula. They're looking really good, mate. And you're saying, which compost do I pot all these? All these together with, please? Well, Miracle Grow do a specific succulent compost. It's a little bit more gritty and it's perfect for the succulents you've got here. You can go online and take a look. I'm sure you can get it from one of the online retailers, your local garden centre or something similar, but there is a specific succulent compost, so make sure you get in for some of those. But yeah, they're looking really good, Drew. You know, I love houseplants. There's something magical about having greenery indoors, especially for many of us who are working from home rather than in the office, and decorating the home up with houseplants. And we always find it with the Christmas trees, but don't we know it? As soon as it comes to January, we take the Christmas tree down, there's like a load of empty spaces. So bring in houseplants. They help you not only clean the air inside your rooms, but they also calm you. The colour green is a great calmer. That interaction, the oxygen they produce, they give so much. So, you know, change your life. Get more houseplants into it. Okay, other questions here I've got from Anne Woodward from Facebook. What's the best way to get rid of mare's tail? Anne, it's a nightmare, isn't it? That is one weed that keeps going. There's a couple of options. For a start off, what they used to do industrial in landscape wise, they used to have to, because it's got quite a tough outer skin to the plant, is they used to crush it, tread on it to crush it, and then they spray. But if you prefer not to use weed killers, and many people have taken that choice now, the only thing to really do is to get some black polythene, put it over the top of the maize stone, weigh it down with stones, and leave it for about 4 to 6 months, something similar to that, and the lack of light will eventually clear them out. So keep coming up. Any of the messages you've got, send them right the way through here. Our next one is from Gloria Tranter. Hi, David. Hello, Gloria. My spider plant seems to be growing babies. Woohoo! What do I do with them? Well, a spider plant has another name. Hen and chickens. Some people call it hen and chickens plants. I mean, spiders plants are gorgeous. Lovely variegated fronds of foliage, almost grass-like, but very thick fronds of foliage that hang down. You can use it up in hanging baskets, something similar to that, or on shelves because it cascades down. So effectively, the plant produces babies on a little stem, and little babies happen around the outside. So effectively what you've got to do is to take a little cutting off those, cut those little babies off, and then put them into a little bit of compost, and they will root and grow. Alternatively, if you want to see them grow, you can take those babies off and just put them into a small egg cup or a little tumbler, whiskey tumbler. Make sure the whiskey's out, drink that first, and drop them into there, and they will start to root, and you've got loads of baby plants. That's the magic of it. I've got to say, spider plants are brilliant like that, because you can produce loads of little babies and give them to friends and families, and your house plant ends up in loads of other people's rooms as well, which is really magic. Okay, another question here we've got that's come in from Frank Burkitt. Good afternoon, David. I'd love to add some plants to my borders to bring extra texture. Do you have any recommendations? Frank, it is all about texture. Gardens have this combination. Everybody thinks it's just about colour. Gold's here, blue's there, and greens. But texture and different style of foliage goes well. Things like fatsias that have almost a palm, shaped leaf, really add a touch of the Mediterranean. It's not a Mediterranean plant as such, but it grows in all sorts of areas. It's very tolerant. Fatsia japonica, originally from Japan. But you can plant those into borders for the palm shape. Big sword-like foliage like phormiums, they do really well, or cordylines in the borders, and suddenly you've got palm shape with lovely frond shape. Then with ferns, something similar for softer leaves. Then things like euonymus that are slightly more robust. They're little foliage plants. You can trim them out into a variety of different shapes. And suddenly you've got 5 or 6 different styles and shapes. What I would do best, Frank, is just Google. Just Google leaf shapes or plant shapes, and then print off a few pages, cut them out, and then with a bit of blue tack or fridge magnets, put them onto your fridge, and suddenly you start to see those combinations, and make the garden your own. We've got a big thanks here from James and Danny, saying a great show. They enjoyed that. Thank you very much to you guys. Take it you're in work checking this out. And another question here from Amina Khan. Hi David, what are your go-to evergreens for the garden? Well, there's a whole host. I'm a great conifer fan. I know they come in and out of fashion, but certainly at this time of year, I've got a blue spruce. I think it's a Picea costeri. It's a lovely one just outside. This haunting silvery blue colour. We decorate it to give it the Christmas tint, and then when that finishes, you've got that colour. And then I've got another little one which is a thuya called Rheingold. It's a beautiful, goldeny orangey conifer that gets really deep in colour. A lot of conifers take on a lot deeper colours during the winter times. They're beautiful. And then you've got spreaders like Old Gold, and there's many different varieties of conifers that will add some colour to your garden. Plus there are shrubs as well. Eleagnus, and there are many different types. Pungens maculata is the most common. It has lovely green and golden variegation to the leaf. Euonymus, I mentioned a moment ago, they are in many garden centres now, the little ground cover ones, as well as larger shrubs too. And of course, there's a whole host of other evergreen shrubs that will give you an element of colour, from escalonias right the way through to choicea. Both really nice big shrubs to give you some colour on that. So, let's take a look at what other questions that we've had in from there. Is that everybody on that page? Oh, I'm really romping through them now. Leela Grayson. Hello, Leela. What's a great house plant to give as a Christmas gift for a first-time gardener? Well, when you walk into the garden centre, it's so tempting to go for them poinsettias. Sometimes they can be a little more temperamental than most. I would go for a Christmas cacti, and I'll tell you for why. You buy them, the flower colour is amazing. This beautiful pink colour, slightly white at the base, and then it opens out into more pinker colour. It looks absolutely beautiful, and it'll be a plant that they will have in their home for years and years because they are so easy to grow. Unlike the cyclamen or the solanum, the little winter berries, or the poinsettias, which can take a little bit more care, a Christmas cactus is a beautiful plant to have in. The forest cacti, unlike the desert cacti, you can get an Easter version of them as well. It's all about forcing them into flower. That's the key thing. But I go for the Christmas cactus as a really good one. Big thanks hello from Ian from Twitter. He'd like to grow a hedge that will protect my garden from thieves. Any ideas? Well, where do we start from that? The best anti-thief hedge, and it is like living barbed wire, is a plant called Berberis stenophila. Grows really tall, long arching branches, spines all the way up. Does have some really beautiful lemon coloured flowers early on in the season, but the rest of the year it is really a thicket. And of course, the greater you've got these thorny plants in to stop people getting into your garden, it also adds great protection for little birds who like to put nests well away from where cats and other predators can get them. So Berberis is a really good hedge because it's quite spiny. Same with shrub roses as well. You get the beautiful roses, but of course the spine on the plant as well, that stops people getting through because they're quite spiky. And firethorn as well, pyracantha. They're really smart because you get flowers early on in the season. It's almost it keep its leaves now mostly through the winter unless we get really hard frosts. Then you get the flowers earlier on, and you get berries. You either get orange, which is orange glow. Then there's one called Roger Sienna, which is a beautiful scarlet berried one. And Roger Sienna flavour is the yellow version of that. Great nesting, great hedges. People will not be running through that, I can tell you. What else we've got? Emma from Twitter as well. Hi David, when do I start to plant my summer flowering bulbs? You know, I always say the moment Christmas finishes, we get into the summer flowering bulbs, which come into the garden centre. I have a quick swig of tea. Oh, lovely. In my puffing cup as well. I bought that when I was scuba diving up on the Farne Islands. I love that. I've got to say, that's the only forests I go to that are underwater. The kelp forests underneath at Lindisfarne are marvellous there. And you see the grey seal colonies getting in, and puffins, of course, on the surface of the water can come up. I digress a bit. The office here have always had enough of my scuba diving stories. So I think with many cases, you can start to plant a lot of different hedges to get into that thicket to make a difference. And when you started to plant early bulbs, it's usually January time that the garden centres get a lot of those bulbs in. So wait until January. Garden centres get them in. And when we're talking summer bulbs, we're talking gladioli and begonias and all the other many different varieties from there. Pierce from Twitter says, how do I keep my lawn looking good in winter? Well, it's a funny thing, winter. What normally happens, of course, is that the grass stops growing, although some of the milder areas that we're in has generated a little bit of growth. So occasionally you can give it a cut. Autumn lawn food is often something particularly done. I know Miracle Grow and a lot of the evergreen brands have plenty of autumn lawn food. You can get that from most garden centres or online retailers. So a feed makes good, occasional cut if it starts to grow, and making sure leaves don't end up as big dumps all over the grass, because that blocks out the plant's ability to take in light, and then you get that yellowing effect. Lovely, great stuff. Philip from Instagram, David, what tips do you have with composting as well? So composting is great. Of course, if I've got loads of blogs on my website, so I could spend hours talking about composting, something I'm particularly passionate about. I think anything that we've got inside the home, we're throwing greenery, never throw greenery away into those bins. It does a lot of damage as it goes into landfill, and you're missing out on the opportunity to compost. So if you haven't composted before, you can go on your local. It's well worth doing if you've got a bit of time. It's Christmas is coming up. Take a look online with your local councils, because many of them offer discounted compost bins. You're buying them at cost price, basically. It's really worth it. So just Google your local council and composting bins, and they will deliver them to your door, usually a fraction of the price that you pay for them online or in garden retailers, because everybody's encouraging composting. And then just have a separate bin by the side of your normal bins in the kitchen, and anything from apple cores to potato peelings, collect them up, put them into your compost bin. I never let compost bins get too wet. So you may need a cover if they're overexposed, but of course you don't want them too dry either. It's that balance that helps the microorganisms break down into compost. What have we got here? Jules from Instagram, what can I do with my cut Christmas tree in the new year? Well, with a lot of cut Christmas trees, there will be recycle stations. Many of the supermarkets operate them, and the local garden centres as well. If you just Google Christmas tree recycling, you'll find your local depot, enabling you to take it straight over to them. What I normally do is get hold of a bin liner at the end, cut out the bottom, and actually sleeve the Christmas tree in that bin liner before I carry it out. It just saves the needles going all over the place when you go. Also, some people collect a lot of the needles and sprinkle them around some of the most sensitive bedding plants, because the slugs don't climb in over those sharp needles anyway. So let's take a look over here. Where have we got there? Simone Phillips. Hi David, my mum's eyesight isn't what it was, nor's mine. I'm using these glasses now. And I wanted to find some flowers that have great scent. What would you recommend for a raised bed? Where do I start with a question like that, Simone? There's so many tasty ones, and you don't have to wait for your eyesight to go to enjoy them. They're just marvellous with it. My favourite plant, they're all laughing in the background because I keep saying this is my favourite plant. I've got to tell you, Lipia citriodora. It's a gorgeous one, isn't it? You could just stand there with a leaf stuck to the underside of your nose like Charlie Chaplin for a week. The fragrance is that good. It smells like, I mean, for those of you old enough, it's lemon scented, spangles. Those fizzy spangles that you used to get when you was kids. I say it every time, don't I? Because it's a cracking plant. But you get that, it's a lovely sherbet fragrance. That's great. Rosemary and lavender, they work really well. And of course, mints, you can get many different types of mint with different fragrances. You can get apple mint, peppermint, pineapple mint, and of course, you can also get chocolate mint, which tastes like After Eights. Anybody like After Eights here? That's a no. I like After Eights. I love them. In fact, I'm going to buy myself some After Eights. It's Christmas! After Eights and hazelnuts. That's what it's all about, isn't it? In the old days, when you used to have a nutcracker, they did you think chestnuts. I used to love that. In certain areas when I was a kid, I was taken around. If you used to go into Birmingham city centre years and years ago, you used to get the fragrance of the guys cooking up those chestnuts. It's something, it's Christmas. Whatever happens with the lockdown and all the pressure, I will still be having that cheeky sherry when I'm putting the sprouts in. And the sprouts that I grew for the Love Your, oh, it wasn't Love Your Garden, was it? It was Grow Your Own. With Alan Titchmarsh, we had a TV show at the beginning of the year, and I planted some sprouts. They are looking great. And I did say, when I was doing the thing, did I not? When we were planting them, we were filming them, we were preparing them, and I happened to say it before. They did. I did say that. I said it's 4 million people on viewing the show, that I will be picking them for Christmas. In fact, we'll have to do a quick video on that to prove that they have grown, and there. So I'll be doing the sprouts. It's still going to be hard work to get the kids to eat them, but nonetheless. So that's the eyesight and the fragrance there. So there's lots of different colours. Of course, there are many different fragrant flowering plants as well. It goes without saying. For anything from honeysuckles to Philadelphia, which is a mock orange, to lilacs, to roses, I mean, there's so much. Jasmine. Our gardens are packed with fragrance. You should have a fragrant plant within 2 steps all the way around your garden, so you can go and enjoy those too. Tony from Twitter, what's your top, there's too many T's in there. Tony from Twitter, looking for top tips for new gardeners. I knew I was going to mispronounce that somehow. What's your top tips for new gardeners? Let's have a go. Cress in a saucer on your kitchen windowsill. I kid you not, buy a packet of cress seed or mung beans, Just put a little bit of tissue paper, kitchen roll, bog roll or whatever, dampen it down and sprinkle the seeds on the top. They will germinate, they'll put a smile on your face. And then what you want to do, granary bread, cut that up, put it in your toaster, pop that down. That comes up, a little bit of scrambled egg, touch of cream, salt and pepper in on there, a few chopped chives as well. Put that into a sandwich and then get your fresh cress and that crunch and that flavour. It's so easy. Have a go. Conifers and most evergreens you can get at garden centres now, put them in the ground and they will grow. Nature has an amazing way. Just get started on the journey and you'll realise it's not all complicated and difficult. It's not have to be like Chelsea Flower Show. It's your garden, it's your space. Plant things like currants. They're fantastic currants. So easy to do. They're so tolerant of soil and position. You'll get the flower, you get the foliage, and of course you get those lovely currants. Pick fresh. Put on a little platter there with some different cheeses, some cheddar, some bries and whatever. The pop of the flavour from the red currants or white currants or black currants, slug of wine or a nice cold beer, something similar. That's how you really get started. So try some currants, try some cress on the windowsill. I always like to, if you're starting something new, engage more than just one sense. So you've got the fragrance and the taste, that really goes with it as well. What else have we got here? What else have we got here? Emily Jones, I want to grow my own tomatoes next year. Do I need a greenhouse? No, you don't. With the tomatoes, a nice, easy one is you can effectively get hold of grow bags and grow them outside, just in a warm spot, preferably, just round about. You can get these grow bag watering trays, which are really good. Hoselock did them. We had a couple some time ago. You actually put them in the tray, they spike through the bottom of the grow bag. There's a little dial at the front that tells you roughly when the water is getting full or running down. You can put the food into that and they grow. So just take a look online, put it down on your Christmas tree, Hoselock self-watering container, then take a look at Levington's or Miracle Grow grow bag, and that's really what you do. If you're looking for some really good tomato varieties, I do a range with Fothergills, marvellous seed producer Fothergills. You'll see them in most garden centres, and I've got 3 or 4 of the favourite tomatoes that guarantee success, from little cherry tomatoes to some of the bigger ones too. They go really well. Nina Walker, hi David, do you have any top tips on caring for cyclamen? Depends which ones. You've got indoor and you've got outdoor. If you've got an indoor variety, the secret with them is not to let them get too wet. Never let them sit in moisture. And somewhere where there's a constant temperature, a little bit more tolerant than most plants to cooler positions. So either into a porch, an entry, a hall, certainly not on a windowsill above a radiator, that's a no. So steady temperature inside, do not overwater. Now outside is another matter because they're much tougher plants. The secret is you don't want to let them dry out, because in many cases outside you've got good drainage. If you're planting in pots and containers, water will just drain away at the base. So what I normally do is get a few wine corks and I put them underneath the container, so the container is sitting on the wine corks, not straight onto the ground, and that aids the drainage through. But make sure you water them well, and a little bit of liquid food as well, because obviously they're putting energy into producing flower. You don't have to feed many other plants in the garden, they're all dormant, but anything that's producing flower, then you can do something from there as well. Matt, I've got one just in here at the moment from Facebook. Matt saying, why does lemonade work with Christmas trees? Well, the secret is it's sugar. Most Christmas trees, cut Christmas trees, when you buy them, if you haven't put yours up yet, cut off about an inch off the bottom of the trunk, really, and that really exposes, because it'll seal over. Once it's been cut in the fields, that wound will heal over a bit. What you want to do is to expose the tissues, the living tissues, because that will take up moisture. If you put full fat lemonade, or you can make your own sugar water really, just spoonfuls of sugar into boiling water, let that cool and pour that in, that will just give the tree a bit more energy, which will help it hold its needles on for longer. Now let's take a look over here. Sonia Norton, oh yeah, put these up. Sonia Norton, how can I keep my winter garden appealing to birds? I love hearing the bird song and seeing the birds visit. We've got a lot of native birds in the UK that stay over during the winter time. So many of them. They become our friends, and we can see them even more because obviously there's a lot less leaves on the trees, so you have a tendency to engage with the birds. You can hear their bird song. They're marvellous. The robin is a particular favourite. Of course, it's the first bird to sing in the morning, and it's the last bird to sing at night. And you know, under street lights, it'll keep singing throughout the night. They're lovely. It's a territorial song. They're trying to ward off other robins into the area because they're very solitary. They pair up, of course, to have the babies, but then they split. They like their own space, I have to say. Feeding, still carry on feeding. Making things like fat balls are pretty good. You can buy them online, or you can make them yourself with a handful of lard, some seeds, some suet, and also some cereal you can mix in. I mix a bit of cheese in as well. I know the robins quite like cheese, what I do in my garden. So you can mix your own fat balls, put them in the fridge to harden, and then hang them up in trees. You can connect them with a little bit of string. Or you need to also make sure that there's a regular supply of fresh water for your birds in the garden too. So always put out some, either a couple of saucers, or if you've got a bird bath, make sure that it's clean regularly so the water doesn't go off in the area. So what else have we got here? I'll take a couple on these ones as well. David, what's the best time to split my snowdrops? That's from Alison Matthews. Well, let them all flower. Let them all flower, and as they start to die down afterwards, which will be early on in the new year, when they start to die down, then I give a lot of liquid feed to the foliage that's left. And as that foliage is starting to die down, then you can do some of your moving. What you want to do is enjoy the flowers, let the bulb use its foliage to rebuild and bring some energy into the bulb itself, and then move them as carefully as you can straight on to a piece of polythene or something similar to that, so you can move it without soil falling off the plants themselves. So there's a whole host of different things that you can do with that. So please also remember to check out Cultivation Street, which is our national campaign for community gardening. If you're thinking about planning a community gardening as we're coming closer to the end of the year and you're planning for the next year, you can take a look on our website, cultivationstreet.co.uk. And of course, Illumination Street is our big campaign that we're running at the moment to try to encourage everybody to do something special in your front gardens to build up to Christmas. And on the website, illuminationstreet.com, there's loads of advice on how to put up lights, how to support local wildlife in the garden at the same time, because you've got to be careful it's not too bright for little creatures that come in, but also how to grow your own Christmas decorations, make your own Christmas decorations from things that you will collect naturally from a woodland walk, and a whole host of other hints and tips. That's illuminationstreet.com. In Illumination Street, we also got this series of marvellous competition with loads of different entrants. You want to take a look at that. We're giving prizes for best large outdoor display, best small outdoor display, best community display, best front garden wreath display, best children's display as well. There's about £5,000 of British Garden Centre Group gift vouchers to give away. Also, I'm very pleased to announce that I'm about to be working with the UK's leading water garden producer. They are marvellous. These guys are the professional Oasis, and I'm going to be demystifying in the new year how to add water into the garden to create both water features, ponds, and for those of you who've always fancied seeing koi carp swimming around in your back garden, or even just a small pond where frogs spawn and tadpoles and newts and frogs and everything else that we love. We need to get closer to nature. Certainly with a world of iPads and phones and everything, we need to be close for that. Of course, you can also join me and Alan Titchmarsh and the rest of the crowd on this lovely great programme, this one on Sunday morning, Love Your Weekend. It's on at 10 a.m. on ITV1, and Alan has a whole host of guests, and I do a couple of turns on there. It really works too. Now, I've got to say, we're still looking for we're going to do a Facebook Live next Thursday at 1:30. It's our final show for 2020. I'm looking over it at the minute. Not even they're doing cowboy whoops and things now. Yeah, no, we enjoy. Listen, I really enjoy chatting to you on a Thursday afternoon. I do. So you can join me next week at 1:30. Have a really good week in the interim. For those of you doing your Christmas shopping, get as much of it done as you can so you can start relaxing and enjoying it. So from me, David Domoney, I'll see you. Thank you for sending in your questions. Very happy to answer them. It'll be the same next week. We'll look at lots of different ways that you can be enjoying plants, nature, and gardening, which improves not only your physical, but your mental well-being too. See you next week.